exactly. But who to end the show with better than Susan McDowell?
Love to be here.
One of the original guests on the show.
We started out when it was just an idea.
It was a little baby.
Yes.
And we're still growing. But
we'll always still be growing.
We'll always still be
but
growing.
Sure have we come far.
Oh wow, yeah, I know. We're going to be talking about what UIF has come to at this point, as well as what's going on in the world in reference to coming far and looking at things perhaps from a different perspective. Maybe a healthier perspective.
Maybe an alternative way to see what's happening in the world that could actually make it a good thing.
Right. Especially in a world that right now, if you watch the media and you're just lost into outside intentions and living those intentions for other people. And you know what I mean. If you're watching the media every day and you listen to other people, what they're telling you, and you believe in what they're saying to be true.
You're probably scared.
Yeah. And you're manifesting their intentions for them. So just think about that. Think of all the giving you're doing, right?
Yeah.
and little receiving.
When you add all your worry and concern and fear to what they're telling you should worry and be concerned and fearful about, then you're making that worse. But it's hard. People say, but how do I not do that? Because I don't want anything that's coming. And that fear just manifests more. What you resist persists, and then you bring more to it. Creates more of
so
it.
Today you're going to learn how to deal with that. But speaking of media, I don't know if I know you know, Susan, but I don't know if everybody else knows is why I even started the foundation in the first place.
Well, tell me, Tim.
Well, Susan, since you asked.
The whole world, inquiring minds want to know.
Oh, I'm not going to tell you now. Just a tease.
Okay,
just
come
a tease. Well, I will say I was to a point in my life. I was lost in the outside information, especially not only from the internet, but from the mainstream media, watching elections, watching this, now I see as propaganda and just matrix information. I was bouncing back and forth. And my sympathetic nervous system was so stimulated to the point where I know, and it's been for a long time, and we live in a society where it's just our sympathetic nervous system, which is the release of the cortisone and the adrenaline all the time. Boom, boom, fear, boom, boom, boom. We become junkies to this, right? And biochemically. It was such a hype. I was getting myself sick. And also I was mentally to the point where either I was going to build a bunker and live in it because that was the only safe place I felt I could be, or I said, you know what, I'm going to practice what I basically believe, that my thoughts create my reality, and I could change things through co-creation with God got us all there is, and I could change my experience in life by shifting my perception. So I decided, you know what, let me start put something together where I could practice myself to do what I've learned and now actually apply it. And I said, well, this is my entrepreneurial self.
It's about being the cause instead of the effect.
Amen, sister. But my entrepreneurial self was like, well, let me make a business out of this at the same time, And
of course, I might as well make money if I'm going to do something good.
well, I wasn't even thinking that. I was just thinking, well, if I'm going to spend time on that, I want to put money into which basically
it's what you want to invest
Yes.
yourself and your life in this idea.
Right.
Which is what makes any idea great, is that you're willing to give your whole self to it and allow it to happen.
Right. So, and I think, and then for the foundation aspect of it, this is my opportunity. I had success in the materialistic business world already, and I'm like, this is my opportunity to give back and give back to myself for my own sanity. I mean, Susan, I was going insane in a certain level.
I can believe it, and I think a lot of people out there are relating to you right now. A lot of people are just coming to that place of what the hell can I do? What can I do? It feels like it's all out of my control.
It was unbelievable. Where I was just so what you focus on, your power goes, right.
Yes.
And I was focused on outside of me and trying to control outside environments by responding to what this crisis, that crisis, who's the president, putting out fires that I had no control over.
Yes.
Isn't that insanity?
Yeah, that is. And that's exactly part of why I got severely ill for a long time. Was part of me started to focus on all the things I didn't want to see happening in the world. And I got real into that side of things for a while. And so I can see now it was the exact lesson that of teaching me what I already knew through my physical. Like, you will not forget what happens when you do this a lot. When you focus with what you don't want, you will get more and more of things you don't want. And it'll take you down, and it will hit your body and your mind, your emotions, and your spirit, of course, you're getting more and more disconnected as you're not focusing in the joy and the love and what I do want and what I can do.
It seems so simple, but it's not so easy to do, especially in a mind that we've discovered. We have over 70,000 thoughts a day, and majority of them are negative and repetitive or repetitively negative.
Yeah, you may have that many thoughts, but they're all three different thoughts that are repeating over and over and over.
And it's true. And usually it's like, I'm not good enough.
I'm not good enough. I can't do it. I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
You know, I have no power here.
I have no power, no control. I'm a victim.
Yeah, that's the prevalent thought today is I have no power here. Yeah. And so people are reaching extremes in themselves and seeing it everywhere else because they're freaking out.
And it's manifesting in physical ailments, physical problems, breakdown of the immune system. You know, on top of all that, you have all these toxins being dropped on us from above and from injections and from food. And
well,
from
the world
else,
is reflecting that inner state of pollution.
Pollution, right.
And that's what it is. We are polluting the airwaves with negative thoughts.
And then we attract them, and we
create
experience.
more and more of them, and we pull them to this earth, and they manifest.
Yeah.
You know?
It seems so like the connecting dots seem so easy, what you just said, right?
Yeah.
And wow, apparently it's not easy to do, because if we all understood what she just said and believed it, we would immediately stop with those thoughts, but we don't.
Well, we have learned, and this is a shift we're in the midst of changing, but we have learned as we've become more independent, and we have learned that oh my goodness!
Tell
me what you just said before that.
Well, I was saying what you're saying about you learning this independent way. How we can't shift actually our negative thoughts. Go ahead.
I know what I was going to say that we have learned that we need to be responsible, and so to be responsible, we think we must pay attention to what's happening in the government, in the world, in the society, on the earth, and the more we feel we're being responsible, the more we're adding worry and blame and just all of this negative stuff. And it's just a concept that we need to change about what does it mean to be responsible. It doesn't mean changing everything outside of yourself or blaming others or making them do what we want. It starts in our hearts.
So it has to start from within first.
If we don't change it here, we're going to bring our discomfort and our confusion to it.
Okay, so what's being responsible then from this new definition? Give me some examples of day-to-day life of being responsible.
Number one thing is I am responsible for everything in my world. That's the number one.
So the guy who hits you in the back of the car, in his car, and... So you're responsible for that happening.
Well, I can tell you right now, 3 years ago, somebody hit me in a huge truck. And two of my friends showed up within 15 minutes of the accident.
But you weren't feeling that responsible at that point.
I was.
You were? Okay.
I immediately went to...
You shifted that.
After I got out of shock, I was in shock for 15, 20 minutes. And I was pretty wounded. But... initially in the shock, my thoughts weren't even working. I was just blown away. But as soon as my thoughts started coming back together, my first thing I said was, whoa, what have I done to create this? Like, what is it that attracted this to me? What is this showing me? And I said that immediately. And like I said, as soon as I could talk, that was my first thought. And things started, you'll love this. That morning, and this was a building of things, but that very morning, something had happened that was like a kick in the gut to me from someone I cared about. And I said to this friend, the one that showed up at the accident, that earlier that day, God, I feel like I've been hit by a truck. I'll never say that again.
I've been hit by a bunch of love.
Yeah. Damn, this love is striking me everywhere.
But no
But
kidding.
I figured it right out.
Yeah.
And I knew I had attracted it according to things
So
I'd been focusing
your
on.
negative, not negative, but your lower frequency vibration attracted that accident to happen
Yes.
to you. Just like our health and say the chemtrails, whatever, we're attracting that because of our low frequency thinking.
Absolutely. Whatever frequency you vibrate at, which means what are your underlying true feelings about everything, not the persona you present to the world, not the nice positive words you say, but what is really under all of that.
Dealing with subconscious beliefs and conscious beliefs and syncing them. You know, it makes so much sense what you're saying to me, because I always call it the crisis of perception.
It's
right now
exactly
in the world.
what
We're not
is.
really having a crisis out in the world. We may think we are with the wars and what's going on in Korea and what's going on with the New World Order and what's going on with all the stuff that we all talk about, and this rabbit hole we go down to figure out now the UFOs that's out in the media.
Oh
now.
yeah, I love that came out.
Great, Jesse, we had a great.
I thought of you immediately.
Yeah, we had a good show on that yesterday, Jesse.
We did.
Yeah, sure did.
Yeah.
And so all this is what we consider a crisis. Oh my God, a crisis.
Yeah.
Negative, fearful. Our sympathetic nervous system's just being overrun. But it's a crisis of perception, because if you now change your perception of what you consider this crisis, you're saying is your experiences, what's going on, will actually shift and change in your world.
Absolutely. We can only change our world. And other people who change their world, whoever vibrates similarly,
Yeah.
will show up in our world because they're also changing it and keeping their self at this higher place.
Well, maybe that's what Clyde Lewis meant, Jesse, when he was talking about how, you know, these time travelers come back, change time, but some people's times are being changed and others perhaps are not, or their perception of it, because really it's our individual perceptions is what creating our own individual reality. So you have all these different souls out there creating their own realities.
Absolutely.
And some interact and connect with each other and have similar experiences, but never truly the same frequency experience.
Exactly.
Right.
There are as many worlds
I get
as
it
there
now.
are
I get it,
humans.
Clyde. I get it, Clyde.
Yeah, I get it, Clyde.
That part I was listening, I'm like, I don't understand. If we're changing time, how's it? Well, that makes
And
sense.
people don't get that every single person has an individual world.
Yeah.
And you can see two people can witness the same exact event. You come away from that and ask them separately what just happened. You can hear two opposite views of what that thing was. And that shows you that, and they both are completely right from their viewpoint. That is what is happening.
Well, you see, it makes so much sense. Like Susan and I are sitting here right here, right? I'm looking at a purple table. I'm looking at her purple outfit. I'm looking at all these different things, and this is being interpreted. These vibrations and frequencies are being interpreted by my own five senses, right? My hearing,
And
my
all
seeing,
of your
and it's
history comes
all my
into
history
play.
to taint that, whatever it may be. But that's my individual experience, and you're saying, sitting right next to you, you're having that same experience. You're interpreting this data information in your own personal way,
Yes.
which can be different if we set them side by side and compared the two,
Yes.
right? It could be totally different perception.
Yes.
This could be a different shade of purple. It could,
I was going to say, I had an experience a few years ago where a friend of mine came up to me and said, "Oh, I love that shirt. I love purple so much." And I was thinking, it's blue. This is totally blue. But I didn't argue with her because I knew she saw it as purple.
Yeah.
And I thought, who am I to tell her it's not purple?
Well, because once you recognize that, and let's advance this conversation because this is just fascinating. Once you recognize that we're creating our own realities and our perceptions can be different, and it does lead to you believing that if you shift your perception, you could change your experience and reality. And so when you look at this collective consciousness reality, a collective reality, like, you know, gravity or whatever.
There's certain things we all agree on the earth.
And it has to be about higher. It has to be a higher self, because it's sure not our 5% consciousness
No.
that's running our.
No, we have to
reality
tune
here.
into our souls, our inner guidance, our higher guidance, our intuition, the nature way of seeing things. When we tune into that place, we get a very large view. And that view encompasses all of time, not just this one little short lifetime.
So how would you think over the 2017, since we're talking about this year, 2017, did you, I mean, I remember watching, boy, I can't remember that one show. Daniel Brinkley wrote a couple of articles, wrote a couple shows on it, but it was all about this time changing. They came back to parallel worlds and stuff like that. It'll come to me in a minute. I remember like 2012, 13, like
the Twilight Zone?
No, it was a new one.
A new one?
Yeah. But anyway, I remember thinking about 2017, 18, 19 when it was supposed to be taking place, right? I'm like, we'll never make it there. That won't be a different reality. I mean, I can't believe we're in 2017. We're heading to 2018.
It's crazy. I remember watching the Space Odyssey, and that seems so far in the future. And 1984, George Orwell, like that seemed so far in the future.
It's
back
here
then.
now, though.
Yeah, that's like past now.
So,
but yeah, Big Brother's everywhere now.
Oh yeah, it sure is. And so this is a reality that we got to look at too. And but in 2017, I think there's so much change. You know, I'm not even talking on a. I don't even want to get into a parapolitical level because to me that doesn't really not that important from a certain perspective. But what's more important is that we have the ability to shift our perception, then change our reality.
And it's never been more important than now.
Yeah.
And sometimes, well, a lot of the times, people have to be taken to their extreme place of powerlessness and frustration and anger and fear and all those things before they're like, I can't feel this way another day. I'm going to go nuts.
Yeah.
And so what can I do? What can I do?
Right.
You know, how do I look at this differently when it's staring me in the face everywhere I go? I can't even go get my car fixed and it's on the TV. It comes at you wherever you are.
Listen, once you connect the dots, I'm seeing it all the time too, because you know our whole site is set up to where you could connect the dots for a thought and intention, and then the reality that you experience, and you track it. You actually literally track it online. And that's
how you're doing
with manifesting your intentions.
Yeah, with what you're trying to create in life.
Yeah.
This will teach you how to, and then it tells you where you are on that scale. If you're close to the thing you're trying to create, or if you need more work on it, or if you're really off track.
And it takes into account your subconscious belief of that intention. So it's one intention at a time. That's why this is such a and it's picking up and it's getting more attention. But this is such a unique tool for people to practice and experiment with the power of their intentions, that when this does finally get out there to everyone and they utilize it, it's just a stepping stone, because this is no different than what we do every day. It's just that it slows you down enough to realize your thoughts are creating everything that we're experiencing. It's every nanosecond, you know?
And it shows you how you're doing it every day.
Yes.
Where you're doing it regardless. But But do you want to do it consciously or unconsciously?
Yeah. And let me tell you something. Doing it unconsciously can lead you down some really scary roads.
That can suck.
I know. and I'll tell you what. If you're out there and you're depressed and you're contemplating suicide, you're contemplating the worst possible scenarios because of whatever your experiences are, I'm telling you, what Susan's telling you right now is if you learn to shift your perception on whatever horrible experience what you're doing right now, you sold yourself to the devil, whatever you want to say is happening, you could shift your perception, and then your reality will change along with that too, to wherever you truly believe what you deserve and your state of being is. Is that not true?
Absolutely true.
There's always hope.
You can turn everything out there around if you really want to.
Right.
Any possible thing can be turned around. I don't care how much your body is suffering, how much your mind is suffering. There is a way to affect it all.
You know, people are like, well, you guys are just so optimistic. And, you know, I mean, come on, somebody has stage 4 cancer. They're on their deathbed, their last breaths, you know, but a lot of it is.
Go hug a tree.
Go hug a tree.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, though, it's their state of being. They believe they're going to die.
It always is. Or there's something else. It isn't always. Anybody on their deathbed will say, I did not create this. I would never have wanted this.
Yeah, I don't want to die.
But if I could talk to that same person, there's never been anyone that if I talk to them and find out what's been going on in your life, it's like within almost minutes, it comes out how this happened. And it doesn't mean they're sitting there thinking about cancer. It means that you've been having repetitive negative thoughts on a regular basis. And when you get to a point like cancer, you've been thinking them a long time, and they're making you feel really bad about life in a lot of ways, or your particular situation in life.
And you hate to say the victim role when people have that but it has a lot of play because
Well,
your state of being, your
certainly-
mindset.
Yes.
Because if you get cancer, you get cancer. It's hard not to think about.
There's
having
never
cancer.
a more acceptable time to feel like a victim.
When you have
And the
cancer.
world will support you. Oh, poor dear.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
my God, what can I do?
Yeah.
But the victim role will not help you out of anything.
Right.
You have to get in the empowering mode.
Right.
That I created this now, and how did I create it? And now how do I turn it around? If I created it, I must be able to change it.
Right. Well, and I think you're referring to that if you could speak to somebody that either we have to clone Susan or that you just have to shift your mentality to what you're sharing with everyone right now, and you can. And once you accept that reality, that your perceptions, how you feel, you have the power to change your reality. Quantum physics supports this, though.
Yeah.
Check
There's
out
science behind everything we're saying.
Yeah.
If you will research it, we
Yeah.
have some shows that tell you a lot of the science, but it's out there.
Yeah.
And this is all provable. And the number one step you just mentioned is the belief.
Yeah.
And if you can't get to the belief immediately overnight, especially when you're
knowing.
in a suffering mode.
Yeah,
But if you can open your mind just a hair to let a little light in and think, what do I have to lose? Maybe this could be true.
Right.
And if it is, I could turn my whole life around. I could stop suffering. I can start contributing in a way to the world that is fulfilling and meaningful and seeing it everywhere around me. But first in myself.
Yeah.
The first place I see it, there have been people on their deathbeds who have learned something and completely come back to total
Miraculously.
health. Yes.
Miraculously.
Yes.
And that's the power of intention and power of God. God is all there is, the flow. It's miraculous. And we have shows about the Christ point, the different areas in the body that you could release. Once you connect with spirit, it's the ultimate healing mechanism.
Miracles happen every day.
They do. And it's just, and to me, it's more so, it's a knowing. Like we call on the United Intentions, when you get in there, start creating intentions, we call it the intention scale. And your scale measures from definitely not to definitely, maybe, and all in there, measures your present belief system, your present state of being, what you believe that one intention will, how that one intention, not how, but if you believe that one intention will manifest in your life. Where are you? I'm at a definitely not, it's going to manifest in my life. I'm at a maybe, it may manifest in my life. This knowing creates your state of being, and in syncing your subconscious belief and your conscious belief have to be in line with each other. They can't be opposing, because guess who's going to win out every time? Your subconscious belief.
Yes.
It's 30,000 times more powerful.
They must be in sync for it to work.
For it to manifest how you're wanting it, and that's why it's not easy. That's why it's a secret that the secret left out. The subconscious aspect of really syncing on your belief system. But once you change your state of being on that one belief, that one intention, and something's going to happen for the good, that's when you start attracting all that into your reality.
You can prove everything we're saying to yourself.
Yeah, it's your own experiment.
By working it. Yeah. And the intention is the beginning. Yeah. The intention are the steps on the way to the knowing. Yes. And then you'll see, like, there are steps to getting to knowing.
Like you talk about the emotional guidance scale, how, if you're depressed, it's hard to go right from depression to joy, right?
Well, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Unless you really, had a near-death experience and things shift overnight or whatever, but the most likely is that you'll go from
incremental steps up the scale.
Right.
And hopeful is where it starts to change. You can be in powerlessness and from that, or grief or devastation, depression. Those are the lowest state on the scale. And the next step out of that is usually anger or revenge. Even will give you more power than powerlessness, grief, devastation, or depression. So you just want to get a little more power. So anyone out there knows that if you go from depression to anger, you feel a little better when you're angry. You feel like depression, you're sitting, you can't do anything. You're helpless, hopeless, and left out of everything. But if you go to anger, you want to hit somebody, you want to break something, that has a feeling of power with it, and it will give you a little bit more energy, which is what you need to go to the next step. But what happens is so many people go to anger, your body and nature tries to take you to the next highest vibration. And what we do, because of our thoughts and our beliefs, we have learned, I'm not a good person when I'm angry. I don't want to be an angry person. You know, nobody.
Society says don't be angry.
Yes. And so what people do a lot of the time, as their body tries to take them into anger, they put themselves down and they give themselves terrible messages about what that means, and they fall back into depression. And so many people can't get out of depression because they go from anger to depression, back and forth, back and forth, and then they think you can never cure depression.
What's next after anger?
After anger, you might, like I said, you may go to revenge. You don't want to necessarily act it out or your anger, but you do need to stabilize in it. You need to feel it fully, and until
That sounds empowering.
yeah. And for a minute, that definitely feels better.
Yeah.
You know, and revenge, you can entertain thoughts about what you would do to this person that's putting you through this hell. And you can think that for a while. And just what you just did, you know, if you have some really good revenge thoughts, you wind up cracking up.
Yeah, you laugh about
You know,
it. Like,
I'm gonna-
I can't choke him out.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
but God, that would feel good. Oh my God. And when you get to the place where you start laughing about it, that will move you right up the scale right away. Laughter is one of the best things you can possibly do to get to a next higher vibration.
Right.
So you may go to pessimism. Well, yeah, they're saying I can get out of here, but sure I'm not getting there quickly, and I still don't feel great, and
Right.
but maybe, and so, but that's still a step up. And then you may go from that somewhere along there to hope.
Yeah.
When you get to hope, the tide changes. Hope starts the vibration getting higher and higher faster. And from hope, you can get to, yeah, you know what? I think what they're saying kind of makes sense. And something in me kind of feels like I already know this. You know, let me maybe just try it and see if it works. Maybe I won't even tell anybody because if I fail,
Yeah.
you know, but I'm going to just try it.
You know, and even down in depression, if you could just write this down and just, I know it's so hard when you just want the world to burn, right?
Yeah.
You're not happy. You just want to die. You want to exit out. You want everybody else to go with you, right?
Yeah, and nothing sounds good.
Nothing sounds good. But if you could write down just a few of the things that you're grateful for, even in that state of being, that will then start triggering that higher vibrational climb up the emotional scale ladder quicker than probably anything else. But truly things, one or two things, three things maybe, what you're truly grateful for in your life at this time. It could be just the fact that you can move a finger, you know, or it could be the fact that your dog is here, you know, whatever it may be.
I can still take a breath, and a lot of people I know can't.
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
and sometimes when you're really down, you get so cynical about the idea of gratitude. And so you could look at, well, that spaghetti tasted good,
Yeah.
you know, or like there's always something that you can look at, even if it's being cynical. It's like, well, I didn't kill anybody today,
Yeah. Nobody died.
but that's a start.
And it makes you laugh. And
Yeah,
then climb the
anything
ladder.
that makes you laugh, do that often.
Yeah.
Or anybody that makes you laugh,
Hang out
be with them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what. When we get back from break, I want to talk a few things what I'm grateful for about what happened in 2017,
Excellent.
and then outside of knowing you, and then I want to hear some things that you're grateful for that happened in 2017 for you.
Okay.
Right? We'll be right back with Susan McDowell, the Magic Touch. She's one of the most incredible women I've ever met. We'll be right back. Wow.
Well, that's a beautiful commercial. Thank you, John. We
Yeah.
love your voice.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I
wow.
hadn't heard that one before.
Wasn't that great?
That was
how
beautiful.
appropriate, Jesse.
Yeah, I figured it's the last show. It's like, I'll put something good.
Yeah.
Jesse's in tune.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you what. I'm back. Of course, we're back with Susan McDowell for the Magic Touch. And best way to reach you, real quick here.
My answering service, which is a live person, my friend Patty.
love this.
She'll actually talk to you. 770
laugh.
841-0698.
Well, let me go through. I'm just going to take a minute, all right? Just
Yes.
bear with me. And you
I
can
will.
add to what, because I know most of my things I'm grateful for you already know about, all right? That's how much we're,
But I
we're
can't hear
telepathically
it.
in sync.
I can't hear enough about gratitude, so just pour it on.
Well, first of all, at UIF, it was an inception, an idea. And, of course, John then came on board and helped out with that. San Miguel. And then Jennifer showed up, and a handful of people. But then Jennifer showed up. Jennifer Kramer, and she's been basically the
the core. She
core,
really
yeah.
gets everything happening.
Yeah, I mean,
and she's been here from the start. She
Yeah.
and John. It's like that core group
Yeah,
has been fabulous
Right.
all the way along.
Well, I can't say enough for how grateful I am to Jennifer. Honestly, I mean, she really takes care of so many things, more some things that I can't even count. Honestly, and then of course Jesse Tills pops in, and
Perfect Jesse
Perfect
came,
Jesse.
showed up at just the right time.
Did he not?
Yeah.
And I love him like your family.
We
You
were
know?
trying to get a fit, and then Jesse came in, and it was instant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you have the new addition, LaShawn Williams.
I
She's
love
out there.
LaShawn,
She's
yeah.
Doing PR, and she has she just graduated college.
Yes.
Just literally this like a week
And
ago.
she's got some life experience also. She's
Oh,
traveled.
she has the right
and-
attitude about it. You know,
Yeah.
she's smart. She's the one who doesn't play victim. I mean, she makes things happen in her life because she has to. She has,
Yeah.
she supports herself on that level. And I'll have to add, of course, outside of yourself, Susan, and all the different hosts we have on the shows. I mean, Jesse, you have to help me out here, from Maria to Alicia, Doug,
Yeah, we got Catherine Pike.
Catherine Pike,
Yeah,
Beth Peters, just so many different and more hosts.
Greta, we got to mention Greta.
Oh, Greta, yeah, and
Kelly.
Greta's
Yeah,
in
yeah,
all
I
the
know.
different,
Yeah.
in there everywhere.
But one person I want to mention too, just recently kind of come into my life within the year, is Kelly Gallagher, because I mean, she's such a unique soul. She's a Palladian. I don't know. She's come from a galactic far, far away.
She hides her little antenna.
She hides her little antenna, But she really has. I mean, it's been a roller coaster, because we're partners now in the company called Gem and Planet, which is all about businesses is positively transformation of humanity, and that's all we do in our business, right? And that's the whole business model, and to me, that's like right up my alley, right? Talk about setting the frequency out, and then attracting somebody like Kelly Gallagher, who's a LA producer, she's co-producer of Vaxxed, she's a writer. I mean, she's such a creative, And and then the balance between my business acumen and her creativity, which we for the last few months we've been kind of adjusting ourselves, and whatever had happened, we produced this most unbelievable event called Doctors Who Rock, and I met through Kelly, I met so many different talented doctors, integrative doctors at ACIM, like Dr. Cowden, Dr. Mercola, all of them. And it's just been a life-changing on my life because, of what I've experienced.
Fantastic.
I had a heart attack in my 40s. And
not in the 40s.
Tim,
you look so good.
Now he's a time traveler.
Now you know.
Okay, here we go.
Now you know. And I went down this road of integrative medicine because I had to make a change. I wanted to see my children grow up, right?
Yeah.
And I had to make a change, and one thing led to another, and then Kelly, then all of a sudden Cowden, and all. It's
you get exactly what you need for your next step.
But it proves to me the power of intention.
Yes.
You set the intention. You have to be willing to not expect it to show up exactly how you think it should.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that aspect of my life, and also, just the little things make me happy, like my beautiful puppies that were born. I helped birth, right? And the beautiful puppies I see every day, and Scarlett and Georgia, I love you girls, and then all my other friends and family out there. I can't say enough about Golden Home Services. The whole crew we have now, it's just incredible. And these guys are kicking butt. Dream and Greta have been with me for I don't know how many years, 14, 15 years, whatever it may be. And they're the principals of the company.
And even in that company, how you're taking things to higher levels now, where the workshops they're doing are getting them in touch with their hearts and their feelings. And when you do that together as a group, it has to bond you in a way when your heart opens to others and your wounds show out loud. It creates a bond together that you'll never forget.
Ever.
And then they're bringing that to the senior care and to people who are in hospice. And it's this chain reaction that is going out into the world.
Yeah.
And so everybody there is raising their vibrations together and then taking that to these families who are caring for their loved ones, who are at their end days or whatever.
And one more thing I want to mention too, of course, is my two boys and my family and my father and Jeannie and my brother. Right now I'm working with Dr. Rank and his son Michael, and he has us hooked up to these electrodes working on train braining. He's put this system, a train burning system, into our house, and we're doing everybody, my kids, everyone. I mean, we have so many people living in my house right now. I can't keep track of it, But we're mapping.
You better entrain those brains together.
My house is honestly like, you ever see that movie According to Garp?
Yes.
My house is like that when they had the big place and people coming and going.
Going.
But anyway, so it's just I'm so grateful for these experiences and for what's going on, and I can't, like right now we've been talking about what I'm grateful for at least a few minutes, right? I want people to know these are things I'm truly, truly deep down grateful for. But inside my body right now, I'm releasing serotonin. I'm releasing all these
endorphins.
I'm releasing all these biochemicals in my body, which is going to my individual cells and injecting this information and data into these cells and making them healthier. And so gratitude right now sounds, oh, that's just Tim being cheesy and whatever. There is I'm not doing this for the biological, because I'm truly experiencing it, but I want you all to know there's a biological change going on in my body because I am in gratitude.
It's one of the ultimate healthiest things a person can do for all levels of their being. And the more you inside of yourself feel that true gratitude, you know the difference between saying it and feeling it. And when you really, really feel grateful and appreciation for things, it really, really does something to you, like you said, but it also begins setting up this magnetic force that attracts more and more things for you to feel that way about.
You see, that's exactly where like our medical model only deals with the chemical response, but Europe and all these other countries, and we all know that we're made up of electromagnetic beings. We have electromagnetic energies around us right now. We can't see because our limited vision band, right? We can't smell it or taste it, but it's there. Science knows it's there. We all know it's there. We just have to just imagine it being there. So imagine this spiral energy field around you. So when you have gratitude thoughts that are going inside and injecting your body, our thoughts also travel outside.
Yes.
It's somehow raising the frequency of this magnetic field of ours.
Absolutely.
And it's affecting you. It's affecting everyone right now on the radio to be into gratitude, because how can you not feel grateful for hearing my story?
It's like the ripple in the pond.
Yeah.
It goes out it doesn't stop.
Doesn't stop.
It goes out into the world and it keeps going.
Now imagine that, imagine that, Susan, compounded by millions of other people.
My thoughts were right there. I was like, multiply that by the masses and see what we get. But this is such a simple, easy step. It's so easy and simple, people don't believe it. So they don't do it. I can't change my whole world from feeling gratitude. But you really can. You really, really can. And just to yourself, like Tim just said, just get in the moment and get yourself into that real feeling. Check how you feel. Check your whole body before you start. See how you feel. Check your jaw. Check your wrist, your fist. Check these different parts of your stomach. How does is it tight? Is it relaxed? Check all your body signals before you start. Then build into where, oh my God, I'm so grateful for this person. When you really get to that place where your heart opens in gratitude, then stop and check your body. Prove to yourself this changes things in seconds, in moments. You will feel totally different, and then know when you carry that kind of energy with you, you're affecting the checkout person at the supermarket, you're affecting your family when you go home, you're affecting your coworkers, your boss, you're affecting the person in the car next to you when you're driving.
You have to see life as frequency vibration. You have to see every thought you have travels outside yourself and creates a unique frequency, a thumbprint, that it's either positive or negative or neutral or gray, whatever. But the more higher vibrational or more dialed into love of a thought you have, the more it's going to affect other people. We're all interconnected, and that's a great point, Susan. We have to realize how this affects everyone. Like right now, we have listeners on 99.1 WDJY. Nicole, thank God she came around and contacted us and got us on FM radio.
Yes.
Another grateful feeling on that. Yes, I'm signing contracts today, and so it's been great experience. But that right now, those radio waves are traveling to other people.
Yes, you can be affected by vibration, no matter how far you are from its source. And that's where radio and TV can be an amazing frequency that
For good,
affects.
rather than for bad.
Yeah, we can take it into our hands and put out what we want to affect people with instead of all that fear.
Right. Well, I'll tell you another thing I want to say I'm grateful for, and let's list a few of the shows that we've had over the last few years, right? What was one of your favorite shows?
I love the shows on death.
She's so morbid. She's so morbid.
Because we made it very understandable, and we made it into a good thing and a not scary thing. And it's one of the biggest brick walls people avoid or hit in their life. And it needs to be a conversation that is normal and general in life, that we understand from birth that we all will experience this thing. And it's actually, when you really get into it, you realize we never really end. And that's the good news. That's the good. And if people would talk about it more, and you would hear from actual people who have died and come back, or who communicate with the other side, all of these things will help. You have to first convince your intellect that something could be true. You start there, and then you try to prove it to yourself. You look for examples of what you want to see to be true in the world. And when you're really looking for them, you will get more and more and more of them. And
it's that simple, isn't it?
Yes.
It seems so simple. And we get back from another break here. Let's talk about how we could simplify people's lives with this new attitude of embracing the power of our intention, and how perhaps maybe some stories have you done it and shown where you were in the dark side, and here you are now in the joy side.
Okay.
Right? All right. We'll be right by Susan McDowell, The Magic Touch, breaking in 2018. All right, here we come.
New Year.
Old Lang Syne. Welcome back, y'all, friends, family, all new friends, all new listeners on WDJY 99.1, Facebook. Hello. We got new people on Facebook all the time. Spreaker. Wow, we got people. iTunes. We got people climbing every day, 30, 40 people a day joining our Spreaker account. That's just amazing to me, Jesse.
It is. It's pretty cool to actually see how people actually resonate and vibe with what it is that we're talking about. So that means that we're doing our job.
Yes,
we're doing our job. I know.
Yeah, the momentum is building.
Yeah.
And once you get past a certain momentum, it gets exponential.
Well, just know that we're going to stay at the United Intentions Network. We're going to stay true to our intentions and true to our what we consider truth, and sharing that with you the best way you possibly can, and not sell out to anyone or anything. As long as I'm alive, I'll tell you that right now.
Because we're all working on keeping our hearts open and coming from our hearts, which allows us to connect with our souls and our inner guidance.
Yeah.
So we're growing as this grows. And you will see the effects of that as all of us continue growing, how that translates into this business and then into the world.
Right. Well, this is one thing I wrestle with, and maybe you could shed some light on it too, because I don't know how healthy it is, and it's a little sensitive topic, because when you talk to people, not only in Christianity but other religions too, when you talk about the apocalypse, okay, you're talking about something that so believes so strongly for many of them that it's set, our destiny is set in stone. This is exactly how things are supposed to happen, and people are seeing, from their perspective, it being unfolded, right?
Yeah.
And so I truly believe, because what we discussed, we create our own reality, right? And so I don't even honestly give science method much credibility as I used to, ever since I discovered the double slit experiment, where the observer actually changes the outcome of the experiment.
Yes.
So if we're, I kind of like throws everything up in the air. if we're changing our outcome of any experiment by our intention, by being the observer, we're collapsing the wave and then creating the matter. Then that just proves once again that we're creating our own reality. And if we're creating our own reality, how can we then have a collective agreement that all of a sudden this is the way life's going to end up?
Yes.
So
exactly.
So it's almost like in contradiction, and maybe you could shed some light on me on that.
And we get what we expect. So that science is proving that we do affect these experimentations because of our expectation and belief. Yeah. And so when you know that, nothing is solid, nothing is written in stone. We have the ability to change it all at any and I got to tell you, if you know history, if you really will go back in history, the end of the world has been predicted many times through history, and all the people believed it at the time. And we've seen, just in our lifetime, we have seen a couple times when it was supposed to be really terrible, and then the next day, like Y2K and those different things we saw. And then the next day you go, what happened?
Yeah. Well, I mean, more so now, there's a lot of end time stuff, you know, the manipulation of the geoengineering where California's on fire and then snowing down in Louisiana and Florida. So, you know, to me, I just see it as geoengineering. I mean, you thought.
Well, I believe we're going to this extreme that shows people the world could end. We got Kim Jong-un over there any minute, you know, and then on this side, they're like, which one's going to push it first? You know, and so there are people having real thoughts of we could just be nuked any second.
But my dilemma is, okay, you have this like prediction, and why would anybody predict or say this is how things are going to fold out unless they're saying, hey, you could have this very bad scenario unless you make changes along the way, right?
Yes.
And or you whether you come to God, Jesus, or you come to Buddha, or whatever the predictions, because almost every religion has a certain apocalyptic message, right? And so, if anything, it should reinforce that. I'm sure that, you know, you have to realize that if we're giving a warning ahead of time, it's not because life's going to end up this way, it has to happen this way. I would assume we're given a warning ahead of time so we can make changes so it doesn't have to be this way. And that goes in line with the power, waking up to the power of intention, waking up to that we create our, co-create our reality.
Mankind resists change more than anything else.
Yeah.
People are afraid of change because they don't want anything out of their control.
Right.
And when change comes to you that you haven't chosen or planned, it's scary, and and people get
they want predictability.
Yes,
and it's scary to deviate from the
so it usually takes something really dramatic for someone to choose change. And that is where we're at now. That the polarities are going to their largest extremes now. And there's nothing better than having things so out of your control and going so the way you don't want them to go, for you to finally go, oh my God, what can I do? What is my part in this? What can I? And before that, people are like, things are running okay. I'm doing all right. Kids are all right. Why change anything? Yeah. Why even get involved? Yeah. But now more people are getting involved than I've seen since the 60s.
Ooh, 60s are back, baby.
and going to the next level, you know, each time. And a lot of people get discouraged because they think, I thought we did this already. I thought we'd already come through this. But we went through the first wave of it. And everything spiritually, as you spiritually grow, things happen in cycles. Yeah. And don't get discouraged if your old issue comes back on you and you think, oh, I thought I already dealt with that, because so many people do this. What happens when the same thing cycles back around is you are in a different place now. And it must cycle back around to be seen from your present vibration. And you will take that same issue to a next step, to a next higher vibration than it was the last time you addressed it.
Wow. You know, what if this second coming, which most religions talk about, what if it was us waking up to us waking up to our power of intention, or our power of, so I consider the intention is when you're in the flow of God, when you're in the flow of living intently, living godly, you know. So what if it is that it's our awakening, you know, as even like Jesus said that, hey, you will do much more than I ever done.
Yes,
you know?
I believe that's exactly what it is.
Well, what if we misinterpreted this on many different religions, and that's truly, it's our awakening?
Yes, exactly.
To save ourselves.
And the truth is, of course we misinterpreted it because we weren't at the vibrational level that those people who predicted this were at the time. So we only saw it from the level we were at.
Right.
You know,
how we interpreted it then.
Yes, and so many people saw it's a grand shift in the world. It's a literal shift in our paradigm, in the way we see and do everything we do. People were not ready for that before. We as a human race had to grow and develop parts of our being and our brains to be ready to see this new way.
Well, I choose that because
I'll take that.
I'll take that one Well, because I don't want this, sitting around waiting for the world to burn. I mean, or waiting to die. And I mean, I think it's
Yeah,
not
that sounds
morbid.
fun.
I know. I'm thinking, what? This end it now. So I mean, I do. I choose to believe that it's my awakening that's going to change the world.
It is.
It's your awakening that's going to change the world.
It is.
It's billions of others awakening that's going to change the world for a better place. We could either change it, we could burn it. We have two choices. Which one do you really want?
Do you want to be here? Do you want your children to have a playground to be in and to create in the future?
That you don't turn your children to androids, which we're doing with AI. I mean, it's so. We were talking to Clyde Lewis yesterday, right, Jesse, and we were talking about how reality is much more science fiction than science fiction could ever be.
Yes, if only people understood
If
how
only- yeah.
far out this really is what we're doing here.
60s are back. Words like
Things-
far out.
Things appear to be
Far out.
solid to us. Like,
Yeah, I know.
your skin is here and I feel all that. But in reality, everything is moving energy. Even a wooden table, if you look at it under those
Microscopes.
Yes, everything is moving.
You see the electrons are moving. Everything.
Yes.
It's not really
Every
solid.
single thing on this earth is
Vibrating.
alive, vibrating, and moving.
Everything.
And
Even the organic stuff.
Every single thing. And this is the beauty of a human. And people are so cynical about human beings are ruining everything. But they can only do that because their brains are so evolved. and that happens when you're not quite tuned in yet. But the miracle of a human being is that we can learn how to use our minds to affect this moving, energetic reality. And now we're finally evolving enough to get to the place where we're doing it willingly and knowingly. And as we do it, we will see first our feelings improve. My own world begins to feel better. As you do this, you'll begin to see things showing up to show you the reflection of your change.
And you see your house not being burned and other houses being burned because of your power of your belief in
Yeah,
systems.
and the way you would see it is not that my house is not being burned. That's looking at what you don't want.
Right.
The way you would see it is my house is always thriving and surrounded with this light
Love.
and bringing to it all the good things that match my feeling. And every person, things maybe break down, but you get to a place where everything physical degenerates. That's the physical world. But you get to a place when you're on the energetic level that you'll run into the person who's the exact person to head off that thing breaking down ahead of time. First, he'll be there when you break down and he'll be right there to fix it. Then you get so good that you get the hit ahead of time so you didn't even have to deal with the broke down part. Mm-hmm. Somebody comes in and goes, hey, that doesn't sound right. Let me take a look at that. Right. And you start seeing this, and then you go out in traffic and somehow everything moves for you. Everybody else is saying, oh, it's horrible out here, but you just kind of flow to work,
Wow. I mean, this is incredible information being shared. And let's talk, the few minutes we have left, let's talk about 2018 and what kind of world can we create?
Yes.
You know?
Yes, yeah.
So what kind of world do you want to see in 2018?
Oh, I see all of this as what I see has happened is we have lanced the wound of humanity. And
that's all that oozing goo that's coming out.
Yes, and when you have an infection, which we as a human race have had an infection, all the individual wounds of individuals, all the things they have suppressed over the years and pushed down inside and not looked at, and all the times when you're being other than your authentic self, all of these things make an imprint in your body somehow. And so all of humanity most of humanity have these things going on individually. So as a race, we're finally bringing those wounds to the surface, and that's why it's getting so extreme.
And ugly out there.
Exactly.
Perceived
and
ugly.
Before an infection gets better, you cut it open and release all the poison. And right now, we're releasing all the poison is hitting the fan, and that's what we're feeling. But the beauty is now we can heal. And what we do next is part of what we go forward in. What do I want to see? As we heal, okay, what are you seeing that you don't want? And then look at that, feel it, and then say, then what does that make me know that I do want? You know, and then start saying, I want a world where we come together. I want a world where the human race feels like a family, where you can be different than me, and that's okay, because we don't need to force what we think onto anyone else. We just let them have it, let them live their way, and we don't infringe on each other. And then we get to see, wow, we can all be in joy. We don't have to get them to think just like us for us to feel okay. We actually can start reveling in our differences and realize that those differences actually give me a more interesting life, other things to talk about and look at to take us further. You know?
Wow. You know, incredible. I mean, truly, we're creating an intentional community, a worldwide intentional community, living in the flow of God, living with our intention of love. And that is happening as we speak. And it's the healing time. 2018 is going to be healing, the healing year. And it sounds like that's exactly where we're going.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to go off the cliff, holding hands, blindfolded, with anybody else other than you, Susan McDowell, in 2018.
I'm there with you. I'm right there. And I'm grateful for you and everything we've all created here
absolutely.
And where we're going. It's like endless, this beautiful thing we're moving into.
Well, I hope you all